Okay, let's jump into products. Probably the most well-known is the sublingual oil. It's in a little bottle. It's either mixed with hemp seed oil, olive oil, MCT, some kind of a carrier oil. You put a little dropper under the tongue, you hold it for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, whatever, swish it around in your mouth. This could be broad spectrum, CBD isolate, full spectrum, water soluble, it could be whatever. Typically absorbs well through the sublingual gland, and the only thing you're dealing with in the mouth and your sublingual gland that's under your tongue is the saliva enzymes. And really the safety concern here, other than other things you're talking about with medical stuff, but the piece here is the quality of the oil. So you're not necessarily, you're dealing with the taste and the quality at this point, but sublingual is the first kind of category of products under the tongue. You're not going through first pass metabolism until you swallow it, but the longer you hold it under your tongue, typically the better. And then the CBD will like to attach itself to fat and things in your cheeks and different things like that. So nice to swish it around as well before you swallow. Vaping is kind of the next category. You'll see propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, MCT as kind of the oils that they're mixed with. We are not a big fan of vaping. Propylene glycol is even banned in some places as a topical. It's not the best topical, so we look at it as, well, then why would you put it in your lungs? Vegetable glycerin, again, it's just things that we wouldn't necessarily want to put in our lungs, but this is another category. Inhaling, obviously, with the device. The safety concerns, the quality of the oil, heavy metals from the device. If you're interested in vaping, look at the concerns of vaping. Just Google vape device heavy metals, and you'll see even some of the heavy metals come from the device itself with the coils that are heated and different things of that nature. So there's a lot of variations in the quality of oil, but more importantly in the device. And then there's a lot of linkage, excuse me, to vitamin E acetate. And so definitely not a big fan of this, but wanted to point it out that there are some safety concerns, but they're also, we know it's very popular. Excuse me. And then another category is edibles and soft gels. These oils are mixed and encapsulated into some kind of a gummy or gel form, or any of that you're typically eating or swallowing it. That then goes through your digestive and metabolic systems to your liver, and then it has to be absorbed. There is a study out there that says that gummies only absorb about 4 to 6% of the CBD. So think about that when you're buying your CBD, you're only going to get your gummy, you're only going to get a small percentage of it actually absorbed. And then you look at bioavailability versus absorption, and it's a conversation. Again, there's a lot of brands touting 100% bioavailable. I would just be cautious of that. I think it's a marketing tactic, and I'm not a huge fan of that, because unless they have studies that show it, I would challenge the brand. Because I don't think anything other than intravenous, again, is bioavailable. This comes down to the quality ingredients, synthetics, additives, different things of that nature. Just like in the skincare world, fragrance is it's a catch-all of a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to disclose. When you look at foods and stuff, if you have a flavor or any kind of a flavoring profile that you don't really know, there could be a whole bunch of synthetic things inside that particular word. Next category, creams and lotions, obviously mixed with beautiful, beautiful ingredients here. Definitely look out for certain types of ingredients. The topicals use certain things like the sublinguals and so forth, that same oil. This particular molecule, it depends on what it's being formulated with, of how deep it's gonna absorb into the skin. There's a lot of studies that we've seen that the CBD oil just sits on the surface of the skin. It doesn't actually penetrate in and absorb too well. But it's another beautiful plant oil. There's a lot of benefits around it from I'm not going to go into those. You can Google the benefits of CBD for the skin, but there's some beautiful things that happen in there. If you're looking for certain types of soothing sports creams, you want to find wintergreen oil, camphor bark oil, menthol, that'll help the CBD penetrate into the skin itself and actually get part into the tissues and different things of that nature. Here, you want to look out for the quality of the ingredients and the skincare itself, and notice that skincare has a lot of bad ingredients as well, which is a totally different topic, but there's a lot there. Finally, the last piece of the main areas is smoking CBD flower itself. This, again, is similar to smoking the marijuana side. You're not going to get all the THC, and so some of the safety concerns here are the quality of the flower. Does it have the heavy metals and the pesticides, and then obviously any issues relating to smoking. One of the things that we like to also point out is there's quite a bit of these products on the marketplace, and a lot of them are being fed by these commodity brokers or these wholesale brokers out there. This little screen at the bottom shows you that this particular broker says low MOQs, minimum order quantities, for white label orders, basically they have pet products and bath bombs and pain creams and tinctures and all these different things, and you can be in business for just giving them 100 labels. So this is where we tell people just to be careful what you're putting in your body, because these brokers, they're just mass producing and labeling stuff and putting it out there. Some of them are great, some of them aren't so great. Do your research. But if you see a product, a CBD product, a vendor out there that's doing bath bombs, pain creams, CBD oils for dogs, treats for dogs, they're all the same, right? You see a lot of brands that have very similar products that are the same. They're buying those typically through brokers. They don't own those formulas. They don't have a lot of traceability back to the growers, visibility back to the growers and extractors. They really are this filler that's filling bottles and labeling for 100 units or 500 units or 300 units. Whereas most GMP type of things, your minimum order quantities are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 bottles. So those brands are typically working with larger good manufacturing practices type of things. They're not just going to these private labelers. So again, there's thousands of CBD brands out there, and if they're all looking very similar, just different labeling, just know that that's probably coming from a wholesale broker. Not always, no generalizations here, but that's probably what's happening. Now, moving into reading the labels. Now that we've got our products, we look at these different things. You can look at these fact panels on the back of your bottles or the back of the cartons. And typically what you'll look at is how many milligrams is this brand claiming? 500 milligrams, 300 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams, what it is. There's an example on this slide that says an example 500 milligram bottle. If there's 30 servings per container, just divide 500 milligrams by 30 servings and it gives you the milligrams per serving. So 500 divided by 30 is 16.67 milligrams of CBD per serving. Typically on the top, it'll say the serving size is 1 milliliter, and 1 milliliter is typically about 1 dropper full of oil. So then you can equate this by reading the panel back there, that 1 dropper gives you about 16.67 milligrams of CBD per dropper. So that's one way to look at how to look at how many milligrams you're getting. If you're doing a half a dropper, then just divide it by 2, so 8 point something, right? Milligrams per dose for you. The other thing that confuses people is that we'll put on our labels hemp extract versus CBD from a legal standpoint and so forth. And you look at the amount of hemp extract that's in the product. Typically, this is for full spectrum products, not for isolates, etc. But if you're looking at a product that says, well, there's 50 milligrams of hemp extract, but there's only 16 milligrams per serving of this, well, that's because there's a differentiation between the CBD per serving versus the hemp extract per serving, meaning, just like we talked about before, full spectrum includes way more than just CBD. It's got some other chlorophylls and waxes and other cannabinoids in there. So if you see something like this example, that this particular label says 25 milligrams of hemp extracts per serving, and we did the math at 16.67 milligrams of CBD per serving, that's the difference. That's more of a full spectrum fillers, not fillers, but full spectrum elements are in part of that oil. And it's not just CBD. Now, when you're looking at what's called the C of A's or certificate of analysis, so when a brand that you're looking for has a C of A out there, the first thing you want to look for is, does it have a company name on it? Does the company that's selling it actually say it's prepared for Vitalibis, for instance? So if that's prepared for somebody else's name, be wary, because it didn't necessarily potentially come from that brand, or it came from a broker, or if that particular piece is not there, or if it says confidential source or something that we've seen in different places, you need to be a little bit wary, or just know that that wasn't done by the brand. The testing wasn't performed by the brand. The brand necessarily is assuming that the testing was done correctly for the lot, etc. They haven't done the traceability. There is a lot of conversations, and I like to produce the source oil. So what is the C of A for the source oil that is being used for the oil? And that means it came out of the plant before it was cut by the carrier of MCT or anything. So when you look at the bottom piece of this, the source oil shows 64.58% CBD, but you also see CBN at 0.4%, CBG, and you also see the THC. The other thing, if you go back to what we talked about before, THCA is 0, CBDA is 0. So the extraction process that we used actually got rid of all the acids and moved them all the way over to the cannabinoids of THC, CBD, etc. So that's a very clean extraction process that moved all those over through that decarboxylation process. But in here is the source oil, just shows the consumer that we have more than just CBD in our product. And it also shows the consumer that the oil that started out before we cut it started out with 2.27% THC, meaning THC is in that oil, but it may be at a very small level. So a 300 milligram example, we'll get 2 more examples here. 300 milligram example, what you want to look for is 300 milligrams divided by 30, to do the math again, is 10 milligrams per serving. So 300 milligrams in a bottle divided by 30 milligrams per 30 servings is 10 milligrams of CBD per full dropper, right? So then you look back on, you say, how many grams per milligrams per gram? Is it over 10? Yes, it is. It's 10.08, 10.8, sorry. That means that this actually meets or exceeds the label claim. If that was 9 milligrams or 8 milligrams or 5 milligrams, it wouldn't meet the label claim. Or if it was 17, it would be way over. So this particular oil, the 300 milligram oil, at 10 milligrams per gram, says that it's at label claim. Going down to the next one, 600 milligram oil, again, divide by 30 servings, means 20 milligrams of CBD per dropper. If you look at the test results for this particular product, you'll notice 22.1 milligrams. So it's over the 20 milligrams, meaning it meets or exceeds the label claim, which is good. The other thing you want to look at is, move over to the left, you see the THC level now is 0.08%, whereas the one above it, the THC level is 0.00%. Going back to the source product, the slide before, it has THC in it, but because that raw oil was cut by an organic MCT coconut oil, from coconut oil, down to a level of 300 milligrams in that bottle, that is no longer detectable from the lab standpoint. So it's 0.0% THC, where in the 600 it's 0.8% THC. So that's a full spectrum oil, even though the other cannabinoids don't register. It's in the product. Okay, so that gives you an example. Look at that amount. On the left-hand side, you'll see the chart that says total cannabinoids at 2.3%, and then above it says 1.1%. That's because there's more than just CBD in that product. So there's more cannabinoids in that product than just the CBD. On the terpene side, we haven't talked about this a lot, but this again is the flavor, it's the smell, it's the colors and so forth. This is a full spectrum terpene profile. You'll notice that there are some really nice terpenes over here, beta caryophyllene, etc. Those are great terpenes. Look them up. It gives additional benefits to that entourage effect, etc. Again, the more processing that happens, the lesser and lesser amount of these beautiful terpenes are inside the product. But again, those are another place to look for, is if a brand is showing the terpene profile as well. And then the last piece of kind of the studies here, or the results here, are pesticide reports, microbial reports, and heavy metal reports. On the left-hand side, pesticide report, you want to look at non-detectables. None of those pesticides are detectable in the product. Microbials, we don't have any salmonella, we don't have any yeast and mold, it's great. And then at the bottom here, we don't have arsenic, lead, cadmium, or mercury in the product. Remember, cannabis is a phytoremediator. It will go down in the ground and pull it out. If you're not looking for this stuff, it could be in your products. I'm not saying it is, but it could be in your products. Okay, so that's a full set of test results.